Yeah, so welcome to C programming. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about the input function. This is this. Let me just try to put them in comments so that because I can ignore them, which is the input function and the output, output function. Function. Yeah. So this is what we're going to talk about. The input function. Input function. So let's start with the output function. Output function. I'm putting them like in comments so that the console can ignore them. So when we talk of the output function, which is more like what displays what the user see, which is this guy. Output function. Output function, you just put them in comments. Comments, yeah. So the output function is your programming. It is this word which is the count. I don't know, count. This is the output function in C++. When you are trying to print something, then we use this. Let's try to print our first programming, which is well known, like we print hello out. So we start with the header tag, which is hash include and then I stream, yeah, like that. So this is the header tag. This is the header tag. So plus, once you just like the name function, you like this header tag to make sure that yeah, your program looks cool and nice. So in this case, we're trying to use the namespace, which is standard, using namespace std, yeah, std. Don't forget to put this. And then let's open up a function so that which is the main function in this case, the main function. So what I've done here, this is a general syntax. The general syntax in C programming. Every moment that you want to learn it, every programming, like any programming, first you learn this general syntax, and then you put your code inside the function. So in our case, we're trying to print hello world. Yeah, it can be anything, but yeah, we'll print that. So put a double quote. And we write our head inside the double quote. Ooh. What? Oh, pressed enter. Sorry for that. And then we put up the hint tag, which is this guy. And then we retain 0 so that you can see the output. Retain 0. Let's try now to run the program. We see what's happening. So we build, then we run the program. Yeah, so as you can see here, it does bring up something which is the operator. STD are not working like this, but we include it. So in this case, the red arrow is here helping us to indicate where the error is. So let's try to check on this. We find where we made some mistake. It can be a mistake, maybe spellings or what. So hello world. Yeah, so as you can see in here, and we forget hell like that. So let's try to build and see to bring the same thing. Yeah, so it has brought hello out, which is the output that we tried to display. So this output works as long as you want to print something, or as long as you want the users to see what you want. For example, let's try now to print the H. So I believe we learned about let me just delete this. Yeah. So I believe we learned about my data types. So in this case, our H, it will be in form of an integer. So let's put up an integer. Is a data type, and the variable which is H. Then we put it to whatever we want. In this case, let's put it to 12. Yeah. 12. And then we change here. So instead of putting, when you put this colon, this double quotation, that means that you're telling the program to print exactly what you have written inside. But if you don't want to print what is exactly, like in this case, we are trying to print H, so just like H. So remember, yeah, I didn't close up this thing, so let me just try to do this, and then I repeat myself. Yeah, so what I was saying was like this is what I've made, the data type that we have talked about. So here this is a data type which is an integer, and then we also have a variable which is H, and then we have assigned this variable using the equal sign, which is like assigning this variable to this, which is 12. And then like I said, if we put this double quotation, we're telling the program like print exactly what is inside this double quotation. If you try to learn this, don't print the H, but it will print syntax error. Yeah, like this int main function, which means the function is having a problem. Yeah, so let's try to print our H. The function is having a problem. Let's try to check. We have a problem. Oh, the problem is here. We have declared this variable, but we haven't used it. As you can see, we have declared the main function to be a global variable and expected primary before an int. Yeah, so which means we have declared the variable, but we haven't used the variable. So let's try now to use a variable H. See how it's going to work. Let's keep some bringing here. And the same, which is the main function. Oh, yeah. So remember, like I said, in terms of a function, when I open up a main function, put these guys. They're supposed to be here, so I deleted them by mistake, and I didn't notice. So let's try to print H. Yeah, so it has worked. We have printed the H, which is 12, and that's what we wanted to print. And this is what we wanted to print, which is H. But we can also print like hello. Let's say, for example, we change this H to the name. Like in our case, we print hello blight. So what we're going to do is just like assign the name. So in this case, we change the data type to string, and then we put up the H, the name. So when you're using the strings, there are two ways. If you don't have these, let me just change it. If you don't have this std, when you're using a string, then you have to include here that std, and then you put the double full colon twice like that. And then you write whatever. Let's say we're printing blight, hello blight. Yeah, I'm sure that's a correct spelling. what are we printing? Want to print Elbright. So I said like I said, if I want to print Elbright, first I have to put this double quotation, which means I'm telling the program like print exactly what I'm going to put in this double quotation. So in this double quotation, let's say I put hello. I'll just put the capital letter hello. And then what am I printing? In this case, Elbright. And then I put up my name, which is my variable that I'm going to call, which is name. But you're going to notice one thing. When we try to learn this program, it's going to bring error. The reason why is because we haven't specified the standard that we're using. We have specified in this string, but we didn't specify here in the print. So let's try to specify, and then we put up standard hit. Even here put up standard. Yeah, like that. And then we see what the program is. Yeah, so it keeps on bringing, like in line 7 we're having an error. So let's try to check if it's a spelling or anything. Some this is case sensitive string. Yeah, so we didn't finish it up. Let's try to put just without strings, and then so it has worked. But you're going to notice one thing. We have printed Elbright, but there is no space. So if you want to include the space, that's why now let's try to do this. We see if it's going to work. It's going to bring up. Oh, let me just close my console so that you can see. So I was saying, like, I tried to put up space here so that you can see if it's going to work. So I've put space here. You have noticed here on my course, that's what I've changed. Now let's try to see like if it's going to work. So I've seen like say programming doesn't care whether you put space or what, but it's going just to print. But there's one way where we can put a space. Let's say for example we introduce and then we tell it like print space. What kind of space? We put the space in double quotation and then we do this. Let's see if the syntax are correct. And then here we remove the space. Oh, I forgot to close the console. So what I was saying was like you put up this function, so that you print space. Like it's more like we're trying now to print this space in between. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So I forgot to close out my console. Yeah, so we have printed hello, and then we have printed this space. Let me try to do this so that I can show you what I've printed exactly. Yeah, so like I said, when you put something in between the quotation, then you are telling like to print it exactly what you want it to be. So in our case, we have told the program like print this, which is hello out, and then we print this space, print a space, and then also print a name, which is a variable. As you can see, I've just highlighted, and it's a variable. But there are two ways. Like I said, let's try now to remove this my quotes guy. When we put my comment in the program is going to do. So I'm going to just put up the quote where you remove this quote. You remove this quotes. Okay. Now the program is going to read, or the console is going to compile this code which is used namespace what. So when you try to run, it's going to bring. Let's see what it's going to bring. Yeah, it's going to work, but to avoid repetition and the pattern, how we have repeated standard what standard, so that's why now it can work even if you remove this std. std, let's see if it can work. Yeah, it can work as long as you have this. As long as you have used the namespace, you cannot even include like standard one. You cannot include it because you have specified like this namespace standard. So that's what about the output function. Now we go back to the input function. So the input, just spell it correctly. So the input function, which is this sign. So this, I'm going to just see this in the programming. Then it is an input function. An input function allow the users like to input data into the program. Let's say, for example, we don't want to specify the name. The name here, like we have specified that name is equals to Brad. That's why now we can use like the input function so that the user can input, because we don't know the user will be going to be using the programming, and so the user, the paint, when we're going to use the program. So let's try to use now the input function. So when we put the input function, the syntax goes like this. We have created a variable, but this variable we haven't assigned it to any data. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell let's say going to print to tell the user like no, enter your name, so that the user can enter his or her name. So we do this, we use a print function of the output function, which is enter your name. You've seen most of the time in systems and what this function we normally use it like enter your name, especially more in games. I mean, we don't forget this. So what we have done here, we have taught the program like to print this so that the user can be aware like what the program is asking me is to enter my name. So what are we going to do? We're going to tell now we're going to assign this name to a certain variable. In this case, we're going to use the input function, which is this sign, but the only difference, this has to be used greater I think the name, which is a variable. And then let's see if it can work. Let's see if it can work. What I've done here was just allow like the user to input their names instead of us just specifying. Okay, so we don't have any bugs or errors. So as you can see, let me drop it down somewhere here so that I'm explaining, you're able to see what I'm trying to talk about. So we have printed this, which is the entire name, the output function. And then what are we inputting is this name. It's more like we're now assigning this variable. Like the same way we do like assigning this name, let's say to obedience. We can also assign it by using the input function. It's just the same thing. Now in our case, we're using the input function, so we're not going to use this name. I'm going to delete it. Let's go back to our console. Oh, my laptop is slow sometimes. So, okay, let's try to input. In this case, we use as usual, let's say John. John, that's a user who's accessing this system that we're building. Yeah, so I've seen it print the same. Hello, John. Why is this variable coming? Why is this line, the second line, which is hello John? This is the line which is printing. You tell print and then the name. You print the name that you have hinted, because you have assigned what you have done with the input function. It's more like we have assigned these inputs to John. So the moment it's going to display, the program is going to do like hello space. We print a space and then John, which is the name that we have inputted in our case. Okay, so that's what about input and output function. You can input, it can even be like an integer, a float. Let's try an integer if it's going to work. Oh, my laptop is somewhere having some issues. Okay, let's come back to now. So let's try to put an integer like the age. So what we're going to do is just change here. But this data type is very important to start with a data type, because the program is going to know like which data is dealing with. Meant to just put up age, and then here you have put a string, then the program is going to know that it's a string. And when you input a number, it's going to tell you like, no, you told me that the data type that I'm using it's a string, but why have you put up a number which is not a string? So let's just change here the variable as we're trying to import age, and here somewhere here, and age, and then somewhere here we print age. Let's try to build and run the program. Yeah, so as you can see, it has brought up age. The moment I'm just going to enter this, it's going to print 0. The reason why it's printing 0, because this ONB is not an integer. It's not an integer, of course, so it has not to print a thing. So let me try to run the same program. I run the same program when I input the age, which is 18. Hello, 18. The reason why, because I didn't remove this hello. So I can change here, like I put up my age. I am 18 years old. I am 18 years old. So I can remove this, because since I've put a space somewhere here, I've put a space here. So now I can remove it when I introduce this part, which is, yeah, I introduce this part, I will put what I want, 10 years. Yes. Yeah, like that. So I have to put up a space so that it can print a space. Just like that. Oh, I didn't close my cursor, so let me just close it. And then I build and run. Yeah, it has brought enter age, which is an input function, and the output, which is enter age. So input function, the moment I just enter 12, when it's going to run this program, I am 18 years, or I'm 12 years old. I'm 12 years old, which is what I've assigned in this case. Yeah, so that's all about the input and the output function. Yeah, so now let's learn to something interesting, which is my comparison, my operators. Yeah, let me just delete this. I'm going to use the same function, so no need of deleting. calculating over and over it. So let me just delete this. Yeah. So the comparison in subprogramming of the operators, let me just delete also this part. And then I put up, oh my god, operators, something like that. I don't think it's a correct spelling. Which is operators. Yeah, let me just check in my notes to see. Oh, of course, it's not a correct spelling. So as you can see, the moment you just lighten the wrong spelling, it will try to display like that. It's going to show you the red line, which is a long spelling. So operators, we have the same of an addition, which is this, addition, which is same as plus. And then we also have a subtraction, which is just same in mathematics, subtraction. Yeah, subtraction. Oh, but anyway, this is the same. This is a subtraction sign, and also have an addition sign. Oh, it's just deleted. Multiplication, wow, this is interesting. Multiplication. So in programming, the multiplication, it's this a star symbol, then it's a multiplication, and then you also have a modular symbol, which is a percentage. So let me try to put up the thing. Modulus, which is a percentage. Yeah, experience. Some experience are becoming an inch. Yeah. So the addition symbol just works the same it works in mathematics, and then the subtraction is the same applies to the multiplication, is just the same. And then for this guy, the modulus, this one is different, because in mathematics we know that once you put this percentage symbol, then it has to bring the percentage of the number. But in programming, once you just put up this modular symbol, then it's going to bring the number, the terms, like more like the numbers it can go in that number, but it will ignore the remainder, just bring the exact numbers that number can be divided without including the remainder. That's how it works. So let's try now to put up print something interesting. Print something interesting, which is, in our case, we're going to start with an int. We assign this. What do int? Is equals to, let's say 3. But don't forget this. And then also have an int. We put up b. It's going also to be 5 in our case. And then we want to learn this. Okay, we had up this. So we're going to put counts to make sure that we printed this out. So what we're going to do is like a plus b. We see if it's going to work in the return 0. Return 0. Okay, let's see if it's going to so return 0 I didn't include is we forgot. Forgot. It has bloat, which is 9. unless it's true. If we try to add up 9 plus 5, 9 plus 5, which is 9, we can change up numbers as long as, but the only thing the operator is going to add the numbers, just like a calculator. Yeah, I've seen it in bank system, like someone deposits the money, which is this, so we can assign this A to deposit, and then this will be the balance, B will be the balance. So when someone just have deposit the money, then we are going to use this symbol, and it works perfectly in the system. So let's try now to change to subtraction. Let me just do this with my console. Okay, move my console. When I change to subtraction to see how it's going to work. I don't mute. Yeah, which is true. Which is true. Which is true. Let me just drop it down so that we can have an overview. So that I try to explain the output. Yeah, I'm sure it's visible. We can see what's happening. So when we print, which is A is A minus 4, or A minus B, and what's B? B is 5. So what it's going to do is 4 minus 5, which is negative 1. So it has worked, the program has worked. We can also try to change, let's say, put up 9, or let me just close my console and I try to design the program. Let me try to build the program again. Yeah, which is 4. 5 minus 9 minus 5, it is 4. So same applies here. We can put up a multiplication symbol. Let's see if it's going to work. Let's see if it's going to work. Let me just close my console. Okay. Yeah. So when we print up 9 plus 9 times 5, it accurate, as you can see, it's perfectly as a calculator, which is 45. 45. Let me just drop it down here. If you have a calculator, you can try to multiply this and to check it out. But you know, one thing that is interesting when it comes to programming is modulus, how the modulus works. I believe that one there is no issue. So now let's try to also to drive more modulus to see if my explanation was accurate. I didn't make any mistake. Okay, a good part is that, yeah. Oh, I've seen, so I explained it oppositely. So the modulus, the way it works, it just bring the remainder, I guess, according to the way it was done. So I explained it opposite. Sorry for that mistake. There's a float which, yeah, print up the numbers. So the modulus, the way it works, it brings up the remainder. This is the opposite of my explanation. Then it what the modulus does. Okay, thank you for today. I think I'll do one or two, but for now let's just end here. Okay, let me just close my okay.